Good morning, internets. It is a hazy, weird kind of day in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're starting out the morning with a 46-degree temperature and 34 miles of battery-only range in the 2012 Chevy Volt Premium. And every time I post a stat like that, I have a whole bunch of people who like to throw up their own stats in the comments, and I can't thank you guys enough. I have learned so much about electric cars in general and about specific cars, and especially those of you who drive Volts of various model years. I'm learning a lot more about what I can expect from these batteries and what I can expect from these batteries under different kinds of conditions that they might experience for the period of time that I own the car. And I really appreciate everybody piping in with your stats, so please keep them coming. This morning I got in the Volt and I realized that I have personally put exactly 7,002 miles on this car since I bought it in October of 2017, which is a lot of driving. And so I wanted to do a car update with you guys about how I feel about the car and how it's doing and whether or not the car is right for you depending on what your lifestyle is. So after 7,000 miles in this car, I can safely say, and you know, I felt this way the last time we did an update, I think at 4,500 miles, but it's still the best car I've ever had. I did get a chance to look at another Volt when Brad came to the car show on Eastern from Phoenix, and he brought his Volt, and it was the same generation as mine but sort of a different package. And you know, that car was really, really wonderful, and he absolutely adored his, and I feel the exact same way about my Volt Premium. It's just so nice. It's so comfortable. It's still so comfortable. I have noticed that after about the 3 or 4 hour mark in this car, the seats do start to feel a little stiff. So if you were going to take it on a long road trip, it might not be the very most comfortable car for, you know, just like the comfort of the seats. I mean, it's a wonderfully comfortable car, and there are some luxury car type finishes inside the Premium, especially with the perforated leather and the heated seats, and those things are really, really nice. It's still not a Lincoln, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have a lot of the creature comforts that a super premium luxury car might have, and that's okay. But if you're going to take it on a really long road trip, you might want to, you know, schedule some stops here and there to get out and stretch. But you know, other than that, I mean, the seats are plenty comfortable. I do wish that the length, let me see if I make this make sense. The length of the seat itself, the bottom part of the, you know, the chair that I am sitting in, the length from front to back, I wish it were a little bit longer, because I notice when I have taller people in the car that their legs aren't as fully supported as mine are, because I have much shorter legs than they do. But it's that's something that they're putting in a lot of the newer cars now. They're lengthening that seat and making them a little bit more tall person or big person friendly, and that's something that's pretty cool. I'm glad that they're putting that in more and more modern cars. I've started to use a few more of the features in the car that I didn't use very much before, and you know, having the auxiliary input inside of the center console is pretty clever. There's a little auxiliary cable in there, and instead of trying to mess with it on your dashboard, there's a channel that allows your auxiliary cable to come out of your center console, and you can just set your phone or your MP3 player, whatever your device is, in the pocket within the center console, and play music that way. And that's been pretty cool. I need to do more work on converting more of my discs to and getting them saved into the hard drive. I haven't really done very much of that because the car came with XM, which I realize, like, when I talk about it with people in person, they're like, oh my god, XM's still a thing. Does anybody still care about satellite radio? And I'm like, I know, right? Well, a million years ago, back before I left my hometown, I used to be really, really into radio, and I was part of a radio internship, and enjoyed radio things, and I got invited to do radio remotes with some of the local personalities that we had on radio up in Reno at 105.7 KOZZ, Reno's classic rock. And I really, you know, I loved it. I really loved radio, and my uncle worked at the radio station. And then as time went on, you know, right about the time I graduated from high school, radio really took a nosedive. And Reno was a town that had some really good radio. We had great radio stations. We had Xville, 100.1 The X, was a wonderful radio station. You never knew what you were going to hear there. And it was a lot of really meaty blues, occasionally even Zydeco, that you would hear on that station. And you had really good DJs that brought that to life. And nobody really knows what a good DJ even is anymore. People are just, they don't, I don't know if nobody has any respect for it, or there's no need for a DJ anymore because everybody has their own music with them. But, you know, there's something nostalgic for me about a DJ sort of building a set list and trying to craft a mood and build a show. And it was something that I liked a lot and had a lot of respect for. And as soon as I moved to Vegas, radio here sucks. I try not to say anything universally negative about, you know, the city where I live, but I can pretty safely say that the radio here it sucks. It's lame. It's radio for tourists, and that's cool. You know, they come into town, and it just, everything on the radio here sounds to me like it's meant to be heard from the inside of a tourist rental car, and that's fine. There's definitely a time and a place for that, but I gave up on radio altogether. Now I have this XM built into my car, which is something that I would never have installed in my vehicle. I'd never spring for the expense of it, and I wouldn't have even known what it was if it didn't come with this one. But there's been this super extended free trial where I haven't had to pay for it at all, and it's been really cool. Like, there's actual DJs that are still working and still doing good work, and still playing good stuff, and that's really wonderful. So I've been able to kind of rediscover radio through the XM stations, and that's, I mean, that sounds a little silly, but that is something that I wouldn't have known about if it weren't for my Volt. And so to have that kind of, that nostalgic radio feeling sort of brought back into my life by my wonderful future car it's nice. There's something satisfying and comforting about having access to decent radio again. There really is. It makes a big difference, and so that's been cool. There's also you know, a bunch of stand-up comedy, which I really like, and they have a channel called Stand-Up Comedy Greats, which is, I mean, all the way back for as long as we've been recording stand-up comedy. So you can hear like Old Red Fox, or Phyllis Diller, or old Robin Williams bits, you know, from way back in the day. It's Lenny Bruce, really good stuff. So, like, having the XM in the car, a lot of people say it's unnecessary, and I don't know if I'm gonna spring for the money to renew it. But like, when they say, like, hey, so your free trial's up, do you want to, you know, pay a little money every month for this? Frick, I just might. It's pretty cool. So that's been nice. Having a car with seat warmers, as a girl, where our butts are always cold, always, and there is no peace if the women are cold. So having a car where I can get in and just turn on butt warmers whenever I want during the winter months here, which are very dry and very cold, it's been really nice. So that's one of the premium features in this car that I've really enjoyed. Get around this mess over here, and it's still handling wonderfully well. The My Chevrolet app lets me know when like my tire pressure gets low, and you know, it's super easy to just go and put a couple of pounds of air in each tire, and it and you know, you gotta double check it, or I do gotta double check it with my mechanical tire pressure reader, and it's accurate. So the sensors in the car that, you know, detect tire pressure and let you know about all that, pretty cool. And I like that it lets me know that, because if your tire pressure is off, then you don't get the mileage that you should. You don't get the range that you should, because it's not working as efficiently as it could be. So I really appreciate that it does that, and it's just been a really good car. It satisfies all my needs. Right now, I'm on my way to deliver a batch of meals. Among one of my jobs is personal assisting, and the person that I do that for, I prep weekly meals for that person. Come on over, semi-truck. Good Lord. And then I have to, you know, I run those meals out to him before work in the morning. Now, that's what the big giant cooler is in the back. And so I fill that thing up, and then I have room in the back for that big giant cooler, for my work bag, for my day job with my computer and all my books, my teaching materials. And then on the weekends, when I take all that stuff out, I can fill it up full of folding chairs and picnic stuff and all kinds of other really good stuff in order to go to my car shows or go to whatever events I have. I have no problem getting grandbaby's car seat in and out of it. So it's really versatile for a lot of these things. And if we go hiking, which you're planning on doing fairly soon, the seats fold down, the rear seats fold down, and I can put in a bunch of camp gear, hiking gear, outdoor gear in there and not have to worry about it. We've gotten the inside of this thing pretty filthy, hiking around Red Rock and getting covered in that, you know, Southern Nevada Mojave red dust that we have out here. And the entire inside was just covered in dirt. You got the grandbaby head to toe, filthy, running around out in the wilderness, and then took everybody home. And there was dirt and dust and grime everywhere, all over the inside of it. And I had a moment of like, oh, my beautiful car with the tan leather and everything. Everything wiped right up. Just took it to one of the free vacuums at a Terrible's here in town and vacuumed up the carpets, and everything else wiped down with a, you know, a lightly dampened rag, and it looked brand new. So the materials that they use on the inside of this thing are super versatile and durable, easy to clean. I really recommend it for pretty much anybody if you have a place to plug in. If you don't have a place to plug in, I still think that you're better off getting something, like if you wanted a hybrid car, I think you're better off getting something that you don't have to plug in. While this car will work on the, you know, gas-only mode, it's, you're not going to get really spectacular mileage out of it on gas-only all the time. You're going to get around, like, between 38 and 46 miles per gallon, which is a lot more than, say, I don't know, Nissan Altima, but it's nowhere near, like, if you're going to be burning that kind of fuel anyway, then, I don't know, it just, to me, it makes a lot more sense to get something that is going to get better mileage than that and isn't going to be hampered. Like, you're not carrying around this giant battery pack that you're not using. And that's one of the other things about it, is that the car is very, very heavy. It's an extremely heavy car. The battery pack runs the entire length of it. That's the reason there's no third back seat, is because the battery tunnel is in a T shape, and it runs from the front to the back in the shape of a T, and it adds a lot of weight to the vehicle. So if you're not going to have a place to plug it in or not going to charge it, then you're just carrying around all this weight for no reason, and that's the reason for, like, not the spectacular mileage. So I would recommend, if you can't plug in because of where you live, I really recommend a Prius. They're good cars, they're reliable cars, there's nothing wrong with the Prius. For some reason, the internet likes to hate on Prius, and I don't really see why. There's nothing wrong with them. It's one of Toyota's best-selling vehicles ever. There goes a Prius right now, being used as a taxi cab, right as I'm saying this. And that says something to me. They taxi cabs get beat up, so they use really durable vehicles for those, and now they're transitioning more into Priuses. We don't see the Crown Vic anymore. But for something to take the place of the Crown Vic as reliable and easy to work on and easy to maintain, and we see more and more taxi cab companies leaning towards the Prius, like, that says something to me about that car. It's a good car. Anyway, I digress. Back to the Chevy Volt. It suited every one of my needs perfectly, and my needs vary so much between commuting to any one of my 17 jobs or if I have to go on a road trip. Like, it drove to Reno beautifully. Again, like, we exceeded the battery only range of the vehicle before we left town, because Vegas is huge. But all the way up to Reno, you know, on the gas-only mode, we did get 40 miles to the gallon, and it was perfectly reasonable for that purpose. And then once I did get back into Las Vegas, I went back to, you know, driving my electric car most of the time on its electric only mode, and getting that extra mileage out of it. I put gas in it about once a month, which is perfectly fine. It has a 9-gallon tank. You do need to put premium fuel in this version of the Volt. Now, I have heard a couple of people say that you can put regular in the 2nd gen Volt that came out last year, and a couple of people say no, you still have to put premium in it. Does anybody have an answer on that? Go ahead and throw it down in the comments. I know that at least one of you has a 2017 Volt, so let me know what kind of fuel you have to put in it. When I do gas up with premium, because the tank is so small, it's still only around 20 bucks for gas prices here in Las Vegas. So 20 bucks a month versus the $200 to $250 a month I was spending in fuel in the 06 Passat that I was driving before. And that thing had a high efficiency turbo on it. It did get, you know, when I was babying it, I got anywhere from 38 to 51 miles a gallon with all of the hypermiling techniques that I had in that car. And so even though that was the kind of mileage I was getting out of it, I was still spending over $200 a month in gas, because if it was running, it was running on gas. Right now I'm on electric only. I'm going to be able to get to deliver the food that I'm going to do this morning and get all the way on the other side of the valley to my day job with electric only range. And I'm probably going to have about 10 miles left over, and 10 miles of my drive home will be on electric only range. So I'm only going to do the last 20 on gas today. And I will have driven probably over 60 miles before the day is over. And that's a normal day for me. And so to only have a third of that be on gas only, it's a big giant money saver. And, you know, it's not ideal emissions wise, because I really would love something where I didn't have to put out any pollutants into the environment, where I wasn't relying on fossil fuels at all. I don't live that kind of lifestyle at this time. And I can't afford an EV only car. There wasn't, you know, I know the Nissan Leaf is getting better and better range all the time, every year that they come out with a new one, and that's plug-in only, and that would probably suit many of my purposes. But as far as hatchbacks go that have all of the things that I need, there just isn't one that has the things that I need and the range that I need and that I could also afford. Like, it had to be the Volt. And I got really lucky that the Volt they happen to have was the Volt Premium. Like, this thing's fully loaded, totally comfortable, and every time I take it somewhere, people are like, what is that? That is, I don't believe I've seen one of those before. And, you know, in reality, they have seen one of those before. They're just not, they haven't been really up close to one, or whatever the case may be. But it's just been a wonderful car, and I'm blown away with how big an impact it's had on my life, just not having to worry all the time. You know, when an unreliable vehicle is just part of your day-to-day, you don't realize, I mean, obviously it's stressful, but when it wasn't until I didn't have that stress anymore that I really realized, you know, how much it was taking out of me, because I had such an emotional investment in my Passat. I loved that car. It was, the seats in it, admittedly, much nicer than this. It was extremely comfortable. It had the turbo, so even though it was an efficiency turbo, when the thing was working properly, it was snappy. Like, it didn't have a whole lot of lag because the turbo was little. It was adorable. There wasn't very much lag, but, you know, once you get on the other side of the turbo lag and the thing would just take off. And it was wonderful. I loved that car. And it came to me by very, very special means, and it meant a lot to me. But when it became unreliable, when the thing started lurching and breaking down on me, and you know, giving me all kinds of problems, it was like, I don't know if you guys will understand this or not, but it was emotional. It was so hard to, like, watch that car deteriorate, and then we put so much money into it trying to make it right, and like rebuilt the entire motor, and it still didn't care. And you know, I talked to my mechanic, and he was like, yeah, these things aren't known for being super reliable. They're great cars until they're not, and when they're not, you need to get out of it. And I was like, oh, well, we might have gone about that the wrong way then. But it was beautiful. It was wonderful. It was comfortable, and I adored it. It had massive amount of trunk space. And when it was time to get out of it, I was super stressed out. But I'd always wanted a hatchback. I always thought that I bet I could get more utility and versatility out of a hatchback than I can out of a sedan with a trunk. And I was right. I did go to the lot looking for a hatchback, and I was going to go look for the Honda Fit, because they have what people call the magic seats, and things fold down, and it was the reliability of Honda. And I was so done with unreliable cars, and came across the Volt, and made a snap decision on it. We didn't do a whole lot of research, admittedly, about it first, because we didn't have the time. Like, we had to leave there with a car. And this just, I was looking at the Honda Fit, and then this parked across from it, and we also looked at the Ford, I think, C-Max or something, and that was another hybrid of some kind, and I just didn't like the dashboard was all the way, it was like a mile away from you. All of the instrument cluster was a mile away from you, all the way down next to the windshield, and that was set up weird, and the visibility was just terrible. I mean, really, really awful in that car. And from the outside it looked cool, and I was like, man, that's not really, I'm looking for, like, yeah, I know they're all going to be square dorky hatchbacks for what it is I'm looking for, but I don't know. That's just a little too square and a little too dorky. And, you know, enter ye old Chevy Volt, which is neither too square nor too dorky, or at least it's not for me. And it's just been the most wonderful vehicle, and I highly recommend it to pretty much anybody. If you have a garage and you have a place to plug it in, plug it in. And I don't have a level 2 charger. I don't have the 200 or 220 or 240, I can't remember, volt system that you put into your garage. I don't have one of those. The Volt came with a charger that folds up and goes under, there's a compartment under the hatchback where that sits, and I just have that hanging up in my garage. I plug it into the wall, I plug it into my car. It takes about 10 hours to charge the thing from flat, and that's just what it is. I live in a rental, so I don't have the ability to install, you know, a specialty charger, have the power company come out and do that for me. And even though I don't have the super fast charger, I don't care. Like, at the end of the day, when I come home, I'm done. So I just plug in my car and I don't have to worry about it. My battery's full in the morning. Through a deal with CarMax, I also ended up with a charger that I can hang up in my garage and one that is in my car all the time. So for some reason, I end up out and about, in a place with the ability to plug in and charge at somebody's house. I can. You know, I did bring the charger with me to Reno just in case somebody had garage space for me. Didn't end up working out that way, but I have 2 chargers. They're just both the, you know, the minimal 120 chargers. But it's just been such a good car, and I can't say enough good things about it. I highly recommend anybody, if you're looking for a car and you have a place to plug one in, there's no reason not to look for a used Volt, because they are very affordable now. Especially if you get one from the older generation, the 2nd gen, because the newer generation came out and depreciated the crap out of all of these. And once the new one comes out, nobody wants the old one, so that makes them really affordable for somebody like me. I wanted it. I was like, oh, nobody wants you anymore, 1st gen Volt, I'll be your mommy. But it's a great car, and I highly recommend it. Got some more things coming out. I'll be making another video this afternoon. Everything's coming along, and EVs of Nevada got some new equipment, and I'm going to talk to you guys about that sometime soon. Probably either later today or tomorrow, but things are looking up, folks. Things are looking up. So I think that's gonna about do it for me this morning. If this is your first time on the channel, thank you so much for watching, and please consider subscribing right over here. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. Here's some other videos I think you'll enjoy right down here. My name is Katherine with EVs of Nevada. I hope everybody's having a great day, and please remember, like, subscribe, and smile.